No one saw the sky tear open. It started with a low hum that made the sand vibrate beneath their boots. Then, a sharp crack echoed over the canyon like the sound of bones snapping under pressure. The soldiers turned their eyes upward. Shields, rising, weapons ready. But it wasn't an enemy fleet or a bomb drop. It was something worse. The clouds twisted violently. From the rip in the sky came a roar, deep and ancient like the sound of a planet grieving. A shadow fell over the alien outpost, stretching from the base of the cliffs to the edge of the dunes. And then it landed. A beast. Not just a predator, not just wild, not just dangerous. It was an apex predator of their world. A creature the aliens called Varanox, a thing they believed had gone extinct after the last jungle wars, centuries ago. Over 15 meters long, horns sharp enough to split boulders, scales dark as burned obsidian pulsing faintly with bioenergy. Every breath it took hissed like steam from a collapsing engine. Panic broke loose. Elite warriors, trained for years, screamed as the creature stepped forward. The ground cracked beneath its weight. Its yellow eyes scanned the outpost, looking for a challenge. Among the chaos, a human stood completely still. He was a stranger, not part of the alien army, not part of the colony. No one even knew how he got there. He wore no armor, only dusty, leathers and cloth. His body was covered in old scars, each one like a line in a war song. He had no weapon in hand. Yet he stepped forward. The alien commander, a tall female with glowing armor and golden braids, shouted at him from behind the rocks, "Don't be a fool. You can't ride that beast." But the human didn't answer. He walked right up to the Varanox. The creature lowered its head, confused, but not threatened. It let out a warning growl, low and thunderous. Still, the human reached out. His hand touched the beast's nose gently like he was greeting an old friend. The wind fell silent. The soldiers stopped firing. Even the sun seemed to pause behind the clouds. The Varanox blinked once, then bowed its head, and the human climbed onto its back. No saddle, no ropes, no restraints, just confidence. The alien commander's mouth fell open. Her hands trembled. For years she had seen men fail to control even the simplest beasts of this planet. But this human, he didn't tame the monster. He connected with it, like he belonged on it. The Varanox let out a victorious roar and began marching forward. The alien warriors stepped aside like children before a storm. "Who is he?" one of the soldiers whispered. No one had the answer, but the alien commander was already following, armor clicking, breath fast. Her instinct screamed something wasn't right. This human, he wasn't just a rider. He was something else, something the war hadn't prepared them for. And if the legends were true, the Varanox only bowed to one kind of being, a predator greater than itself. She clenched her fists. If this human truly controlled the apex predator of their world, the balance of power had shifted. The war they thought they understood was over. A new one had just begun. The Varanox moved with slow power through the canyon. Every step shook. The rocks. Dust swirled around its thick legs, but the human on its back remained steady like he had done this 1,000 times before. Behind him, the alien commander followed, riding a hoverbike, silent and alert. Her name was Reelan, and she wasn't used to feeling uncertain. She had led war campaigns on 3 moons. She had faced off against assassins, pirates, and rebel kings. But this human made her nervous in a way none of them ever had. He didn't speak. He didn't ask for directions. He didn't even turn his head when she called out. "Stop," she finally said, loud enough to bounce off the canyon walls. The Varanox halted. The human turned his head slightly, but still didn't say anything. His eyes, calm and sharp, locked with hers. "I don't know who you are," Reelan said, stepping off her bike, "but that creature is not a pet. It is a weapon, a relic of war. Even our strongest lost control of it. And you just climbed on it like it was yours." The human finally spoke, voice low and even. "It came to me. I didn't force it." Reelan narrowed her eyes. "That's impossible." The Varanox let out a deep growl as if offended. The human gave it a quick pat, calming it instantly. "You're not from this planet," she said slowly. "You don't know our ways. You don't know what that thing has done." "I know fear," he said. "I know pain, and I know when something isn't a monster, just angry and misunderstood." Reland stared at him, unsure whether to be impressed or furious. "You still haven't told me your name." He looked at the horizon. "I'm just passing through." "No, one just passes through this zone. It's a restricted war sector. Anyone unauthorized gets captured or killed." "I didn't come here to fight," he said. "But if you try to cage me, we'll see how far that goes." That made Reland's spine stiffen. Was that a threat? Or just truth? The Varanox suddenly turned its head and sniffed the wind. Then it let out a warning snarl. "What is it?" Raylan asked, raising her pulse blaster. The human didn't answer. Instead, he looked up. Dark shapes were circling in the sky. 3 predator drones with auto-targeting. Not from Reland's command. These were black market machines, silent killers. "Used by rogue factions, they're not yours?" he asked. Reland shook her head. "No. They're targeting the Varanox. Then they're suicidal." The human leaned forward on the beast's neck. Time to show them who the real apex predator is. The Varanox roared and charged forward, faster than anything its size should be able to move. Its claws tore up the canyon floor as it leaped onto a boulder, then launched itself into the air. The drones opened fire, but the beast twisted midair like a serpent, avoiding the blasts. The human grabbed onto its spiked collar, steering it with body weight alone. One drone exploded as the Varanox's tail smashed it. The other tried to escape, but the beast launched a glob of bioplasma from its mouth, melting the drone midair. The last one tried to flee, but Raylan shot it down with a pulse strike from below. Silence returned. The Varanox landed, growling proudly. Raylan looked at the human differently now, not as a trespasser, not even as a mystery. He was a threat, but maybe also an answer. Who was this human that the beast obeyed and war machines couldn't kill? And why did the old legends suddenly feel less like myth and more like prophecy? The canyon was quiet again, but the silence was different now. Reland stood near the scorched remains of the drones, watching the human as he gently ran his hand down the neck of the Varanox. The creature purred, a deep, rumbling sound that echoed softly off the stone walls. It was strange, almost gentle, coming from something that had just torn through war machines like paper. She walked closer, cautious. "That was not instinct," she said. "You guided it like you trained with it your whole life." The human didn't look at her. His eyes were on the horizon where the smoke trails from the destroyed drones still floated. "You don't train creatures like this," he said. "You understand them. That's the difference between domination and trust." Reland crossed her arms. "You speak like a beast tamer, not a warrior." "I've been both." Something in his voice made her pause. The Varanox turned, lowering its massive head next to the human like a loyal companion. Its golden eyes blinked at Reland, and for a moment she felt truly small. Not weak, just less. And she hated that feeling. "You're not part of the Galactic Command," she said. "You're not in our files. So where are you really from?" He looked at her finally. "Earth." She blinked. "That's a myth." "Not to me." Reland stared at him harder now. The word Earth had passed through her people's stories like smoke. A lost system, a violent planet, home of creatures that survived deathworlds. The kind of place you scared your kids with when they disobeyed. "You're human?" she asked. He gave a slow nod. "The last one here, as far as I know." Her mind raced. If he was telling the truth, then this man wasn't just strange, he was history walking. "Why are you here?" she asked, voice quieter now. "Looking for something," he said. "Something I lost." "What was it?" He didn't answer. Before she could push further, a signal came through her wrist comm. It was garbled, broken by interference, but she caught 2 words that made her blood run cold. "Beast, breach, Lab 9, Escape. The human turned, hearing it too. What was that? Reeland's hand shook slightly. Another apex predator, one we kept in a sealed dome far north. Project Gravor. It wasn't just a beast, it was bioenhanced. Stronger than the Varanox. Sounds like a mistake. It was. She tapped her comm, boosting the signal. A weak map flashed onto her holo display, showing a red zone growing around Lab 9. Whatever had escaped wasn't just walking, it was destroying everything in its path. The facility is already gone, she whispered. The security teams are down. The human swung, one leg over the Varanox and looked at her. Then let's go. You want to fight it? No, he said. I want to stop it, before it kills everything in its way. Reeland hesitated. That's a suicide mission. So is doing nothing. He didn't wait for permission. He leaned forward and whispered something into the Varanox's ear. The creature grunted, then sprinted toward the northern pass, moving like a storm wrapped in scales. Reeland stared for a moment. Then she jumped on her hoverbike and took off after him. She didn't trust him, but she trusted what she saw with her own eyes. And if this human could ride one apex predator, maybe, just maybe, he was the only one who could stop the next. Whatever had been unleashed in Lab 9, it wasn't going to stop on its own, and this war, which had started with weapons and territory, was about to become something far more personal. The wind howled across the northern pass. The terrain shifted from smooth canyon stone to cracked ice and black volcanic rock. It was colder here and quieter too. No birds, no insects, just silence that pressed into the ears like a warning. The Varanox ran faster than any transport. Its claws gripped the rock with unnatural control, muscles rippling beneath thick armored scales. On its back, the human leaned forward, eyes locked on the horizon. Behind him, Commander Reeland followed on her hoverbike, engine whining at max power. She couldn't keep up with the beast, not really, but she stayed close enough to see the path it cut. Up ahead, the sky turned dark, not from clouds, but from smoke. Massive towers from the destroyed Lab 9 lay in ruins. Half the base had collapsed into itself. Steel beams jutted from the ground like broken ribs. A transport ship smoldered on its side, engines still hissing. The snow around it had melted into a pool of ash and blood. The human signaled the Varanox to stop. It obeyed instantly. He slid down and stepped forward, crouching beside a shattered wall. Reeland pulled up seconds later. Her eyes widened at the scene. No survivors. Bodies of armored soldiers were scattered across the field. Some were crushed, others burned, but none looked like they had time to scream. Something tore through this like paper, she whispered. The human nodded. It wasn't hungry. It was angry. You can tell? He looked at a long trail of claw marks across the ground. They went on for hundreds of meters, deep and ragged, too uneven for normal hunting behavior. It wasn't chasing prey, he said. It was breaking free and sending a message. Reeland pulled up her wrist display. The tracker showed a fast-moving signal heading toward the Central Plains, civilian zones. If we don't intercept it, it'll hit a trade colony by nightfall. The human stood up slowly. Then we don't wait. But you don't even know what it is. I know enough, he said. It was born in a lab. Enhanced. By your people. Raised in a cage. Now it's loose. And like the Varanox, it doesn't care about your ranks or rules. Reeland stepped closer. You think you can ride it too? No, he said. This one doesn't want a rider. It wants revenge. She looked at the Varanox, still calm beside them. So what's your plan? The human turned toward the horizon. Get in its path. Force it to face something it didn't expect. Reeland frowned. You? He nodded. Me. And him. He patted. The Varanox. But you're just one man. The human gave her a small smile. Sometimes that's enough. She paused, watching him mount the creature again. Her instincts told her this was madness, but another part of her, one she didn't listen to often, believed him. Maybe this human wasn't like the others. Maybe he came here for more than just wandering. Maybe this was fate. "We'll take the river route," she said finally. "It cuts 2 hours off the trip." He looked back at her. "You coming with me?" "I've already seen what happens when I don't." The Varanox roared as if answering for both of them. Then it bolted forward again, claws tearing into the earth, heading toward the central plains. And somewhere far ahead, in the shadows of distant hills, the second apex predator stopped. It turned its head. It felt the vibration of something familiar. The hunt was coming, but it didn't know yet. It was the one being hunted now. The river route was quiet at first. The sound of rushing water echoed between the cliffs and birds circled overhead. It looked peaceful. But that peace was a lie. Raylan kept scanning the tree line, her hand always near her weapon. She didn't trust nature to stay calm anymore. Not after what they had seen at Lab 9. The scars on the land weren't just physical. Something deeper had changed. It felt like the planet itself was waiting, holding its breath. The human didn't say much. He rode the Varanox in silence, eyes scanning ahead, body relaxed but ready. His calm wasn't casual. It was practiced, like someone who had lived too long in dangerous places and learned not to waste energy on fear. Raylan finally broke the silence. "What's your name?" He didn't answer right away. Then, without looking back, he said, "Jace." "Just Jace? It's all I need." Raylan smirked, but it faded quickly. She had more questions, but she sensed he wouldn't answer most of them. And the truth was, she didn't need his whole history. She'd seen what he could do. That was enough for now. A sharp growl from the Varanox made both of them freeze. Jace looked toward the tree line. Something moved through the shadows, fast, too fast for any natural animal. Trees bent, water splashed. Then a high-pitched shriek cut through the air, full of rage. The other apex predator was close. Raylan checked her calm. "It's moving toward the bridge," she said. "If it crosses there, it'll have a straight path to the colony." "Then we meet it there," Jace said. They picked up speed. The Varanox moved like a missile across the rocky ground. Raylan struggled to keep up on her bike, branches whipping past her face as she dodged trees and roots. The bridge came into view, a massive stone structure built by the old settlers, still strong despite the weather. But what stood on the other side made her heart stop. The second apex predator. It was larger than the Varanox, bulkier. Its body was covered in black armor-like plates, with red veins glowing underneath. Its eyes were not just wild, they were filled with something intelligent, something hateful, and it was already halfway across the bridge. Jace didn't wait. He urged the Varanox forward. The creature roared, leaping onto the bridge with a thunderous slam. The stone cracked under the weight of both beasts. The two predators faced each other. The black one lowered its head, growling. The Varanox answered with a deafening bellow. But something strange happened. The black predator paused. Its eyes locked on Jace. And for a moment its growl turned into a low, pained sound. A whimper, almost. Jace narrowed his eyes. "You remember me, don't you?" Raylan heard him, confused. "What are you talking about?" Jace didn't look back. He kept his focus on the beast. This one isn't just enhanced, it was trained. It was given orders, conditioned. Raylan's eyes widened. "By who?" Jace finally turned toward her. "By humans, a long time ago, before your people ever found this world. You knew this thing? I helped raise it." The black predator growled louder now, backing up slightly. "I named it Ghost." Raylan stared at him in shock. "You made that thing?" "No," Jace said quietly. "We made it, then we abandoned it." Suddenly the creature roared, loud and sharp, full of betrayal. It charged, claws raised. Jace didn't move. The Varanox stood its ground, ready. The fight had begun. The black beast, Ghost, slammed into the Varanox with the force of a crashing ship. Stone cracked beneath their feet. The ancient bridge groaned under the impact. Dust and broken chunks of rock flew into the air as claws scraped armor and jaws snapped with lethal precision. Reelan barely had time to jump off her bike before the shockwave hit her. She hit the ground and rolled, then looked up just in time to see both apex predators locked in a brutal push, teeth bared, growling like titans of war. Jace held tight to the Varanox, guiding its movement with subtle shifts in balance. He wasn't trying to control it completely. He moved with it, like a partner, like a rider born for the beast. Ghost lashed out with a brutal swipe of its claws. The Varanox ducked, but not fast enough. Blood sprayed from its shoulder. It roared, in pain. "Jace!" Reelan shouted. "You can't win this, that thing is stronger." "No," Jace shouted back. "It's just angrier." Ghost turned on him suddenly, ignoring the Varanox. Its eyes locked on Jace, not as a stranger, but as something worse. A memory. Jace stood on the beast's back, staring into the rage-filled eyes of the creature he had once cared for. He knew those eyes. He had seen them behind reinforced glass years ago when Ghost was only a juvenile. Curious, intelligent, even affectionate. "Ghost," he said softly, not yelling now. "You remember me. Don't lie. You know who I am." The creature paused. Its body tensed. Its growl changed pitch. "You were made to obey. They gave you pain, and I failed to stop them. But I never wanted this for you." Reelan stood nearby, unsure what she was witnessing. This wasn't just a fight. It was something deeper. Like a betrayal between old friends or worse, family. Ghost's eyes flickered. Something in them shifted. The hate wavered, but only for a moment. Then it roared and lunged again, straight at Jace. The Varanox surged upward, taking the hit for its rider. The two beasts crashed into the side of the bridge, stones breaking away beneath them. Jace was thrown off, slamming hard onto the edge of the structure. "Jace!" Reelan screamed. He groaned, blood trickling from his lip, but he pushed himself up. Ghost turned toward him, slow and heavy, preparing for a final charge. The Varanox was down, wounded. Jace stood on shaking legs. Reelan pulled her blaster and fired. The shot striking Ghost's shoulder. It barely reacted. Jace raised his hand. "No, don't shoot." "What?" "Ghost doesn't want to kill me. It wants me to understand. It wants me to feel the pain I left behind." Ghost growled again, but it slowed. "Then tell it," Reelan said. "Tell it the truth." Jace stepped forward. "You were taken from the wild, changed, made into a weapon. I was young and I didn't know how to protect you. When the labs shut down, I thought you were destroyed. But you weren't. They kept you, tortured you, used you." Ghost breathed hard, a deep sound that echoed across the bridge. "I'm sorry," Jace said. For a moment, everything stopped. Then Ghost turned slightly and lowered its head. The Varanox slowly stood again, limping but alive. The two apex predators stared at each other. The tension in the air was thick, but no one moved. Reelan stepped beside Jace, her voice low. "Did you just stop a war with an apology?" Jace shook his head. "Not yet." Because far off in the distance, a new sound rose. Mechanical, sharp, unnatural, dropships, armed ones. Not hers. Reelan's face went cold. "Who called reinforcements?" Jace didn't answer, but his eyes were already narrowing. Whoever was coming. They weren't here to help. They were coming to finish what had started years ago. The sound of the dropships grew louder. The sky above the canyon darkened as three massive crafts pushed through the clouds, their engines rumbling like thunder. Each one bore a red insignia Reelan hadn't seen in years. Two jagged lines crossing. "A skull. Private sector," she said, her jaw tightening. "Military contractors, illegal ones." Jace didn't look surprised. "They want Ghost back," he said. "Why now?" "Because they finally tracked him. And me." The Varanox paced, restlessly. Its wound still bled, but it didn't back down. Ghost stood at the center of the bridge, no longer aggressive, but alert. He felt what was coming. One of the dropships hovered low, its sides opening. Black-armored troops stepped out, rifles raised. At their front stood a tall man with silver hair and eyes like steel. His voice came through loudspeakers. "Subject, Sorda 9, he said. "Stand down. You are ordered to return." Ghost didn't move. The man looked at Jace. "You were supposed to die with the rest of the project." Jace stepped forward, ignoring the pain in his body. "You can't control him anymore." The commander raised his hand. "We don't need to. We have the kill switch." Jace's heart stopped. "You wouldn't." But he knew they would. The man tapped his wrist device. A pulse wave spread through the air, invisible but sharp. Ghost's body jerked. He let out a roar, not of rage but pain. His legs buckled, his claws scratched against stone like he was trying to hold on to reality. "Stop it!" Jace yelled. The commander smiled coldly. "He was never yours. He was ours. You. We're just a handler. You forgot your place." Reelan raised her weapon, eyes burning. "If you kill that beast, you'll have to go through us." "Gladly," the man said. Troops opened fire. Blaster shots screamed through the air. Jace grabbed Reelan and dove behind a broken piece of the bridge. The Varanox leapt forward, roaring, acting as a living shield for Ghost. Sparks and plasma burned against its thick hide, but it held its ground. "We can't hold them here," Reelan shouted. "There are too many." "I don't care," Jace said. "I'm not letting them take him." Ghost struggled to stand. His muscles twitched. His breath came in broken bursts. The kill signal was working. His heart rate was spiking. Jace crawled, over grabbing Ghost's claw. "You're not a weapon," he said, voice shaking. "You're not a tool. You're free. You hear me? You're free." Ghost's eyes flickered. For a moment, they turned from red to yellow. Like the old days. The real Ghost. The signal pulse hit again. Stronger. Ghost roared in agony and collapsed, fully. The bridge cracked beneath his weight. Jace turned to Reelan. "We have to stop that signal." "How?" Jace looked at the command dropship. "We get inside." Reelan looked at the distance. "It's too far. Not if we ride." The Varanox stepped beside them, wounded but still willing. Jace climbed on. Raylan hesitated for just a second, then jumped behind him. The Varanox roared and charged forward, dodging blaster fire as it thundered across the bridge. Troops scattered. The commander raised his weapon, but it was too late. The beast launched, into the air, straight onto the dropship platform, metal bent beneath the impact. Screams erupted as the Varanox crashed through the side hatch. Inside, alarms rang. Soldiers drew their weapons, but the creature was already moving, claws slashing, tail sweeping enemies into walls. Jace jumped off, grabbed the command tablet, and smashed it against the wall. The signal stopped. Far behind them, Ghost's body twitched once, then stilled. His eyes opened. He was breathing again. Ghost stood again. Not fast, not strong, but alive. The red glow in his eyes faded, replaced by something ancient and aware. His body trembled, legs shaking, but he was no longer in pain. The pulse signal was gone. The chain had been broken. Back on the dropship, Jace stood, breathing hard beside the smashed control tablet. His hands were scraped and bloody. Reelan had burn marks on her armor, her blaster still warm from the last shot. The Varanox paced between them and the remaining soldiers. Its growls were low and steady, daring anyone to move. "They're falling back," Reelan shouted. The black-armored soldiers began to retreat, dragging their injured with them. The commander, still alive, glared at Jace as he backed into the command bay. "This won't end here," he said. "No," Jace replied. "It ends with you." He fired a small pulse round into the ship's navigation panel. Sparks flew. The ship's lights dimmed. Jace and Reelan jumped off the side, landing back on the bridge below as the dropship lurched upward and away, losing control. It spun once, smoking, then vanished over the mountains. Back on the cracked bridge, Ghost limped toward Jace. The creature lowered his head, a deep rumble in his throat. It wasn't a growl. It was recognition. "I thought I lost you," Jace said. Ghost pressed his forehead lightly against Jace's chest. Reelan watched the scene in silence. For a long moment, no one said a word. Even the wind felt still. Just a human, standing between two apex predators, and both were calm. Finally, Reelan spoke. "I've commanded armies," she said. "Led fleets, seen death and victory more times than I can count. But I've never seen anything like you." Jace turned to her. "I'm not special." "You're wrong," she said. "You made the deadliest beasts in this quadrant bow without fear, not with strength, with loyalty." He looked at the Varanox, then at Ghost. "They don't want war. They want to be understood. Just like us." Reelan nodded slowly. "Then what now?" Jace took a long breath, the weight of everything settling on him. "We rebuild this bridge, not just with stone, with trust." "You think the colonies will listen?" "They'll have to. These creatures aren't going away, and they shouldn't." Reelan looked at Ghost. "You'll never be able to hide again. They'll come for you both." "Then let them come," Jace said. "We'll be ready." He walked to the edge of the bridge and looked out at the open wild beyond. Endless valleys, unknown mountains, alien skies. But now, it felt like home. Ghost stepped beside him. The Varanox, too. Reelan watched from behind, a strange feeling growing in her chest. Something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. "These beasts," she said quietly, "were supposed to be our weapons." Jace smiled faintly. "No, they're our mirror. What we create reflects who we are." "And what does this reflect?" she asked, gesturing to the chaos left behind. Jace turned to her. "Pain, regret, and the chance to do better." Suddenly, a transmission came through her comm, this time from her own people. "Commander Reelan, please respond. We're receiving strange reports. Are you all right?" She paused, then looked at Jace, at Ghost, at the Varanox, and she answered. "We're not just all right," she said. "We may have just found the future." The transmission went silent for a moment, then the voice came back, cautious. "Do you need support?" Reelan glanced at Jace. "No, I think we're in good hands." The Varanox let out a low, peaceful growl. Ghost rested beside them, head down, calm. And in the middle of it all stood a single human, unarmed, outnumbered, and completely in control. They set up camp in the ruins of the old watchtower near the bridge. Reelan soldiers arrived by evening, stunned by what they saw. Two apex predators sitting calmly beside a human, like loyal beasts resting after a hunt. Some kept their hands on their weapons. Others just stared, unsure if this was real or some trick of the war. But no one fired. No one dared. Reelan stood beside Jace, watching her troops in silence. She had already told them the truth. What the private contractors had done, how Ghost had been controlled, how the human had saved them all. "They're scared," she said. "They should be," Jace replied. He wasn't smiling. His face was calm but tired. Ghost lay near his side, breathing slow, body healing. The Varanox rested nearby, eyes half closed but alert. "They've seen predators before," she said. "But not ones that follow commands. Not like this." "They're not following commands," Jace said. "They're following trust." Reelan looked at him. "You think that's enough?" He glanced at the mountains in the distance. "It has to be." That night, under a sky filled with strange stars, Jace sat between the two beasts and closed his eyes. For the first time in years, he wasn't running, he wasn't hiding. He had nothing left to prove, but peace never lasts long. The next morning, a signal came through. Encrypted. Military grade. Reelan's comm buzzed with a warning. "Incoming fleet detected. Unknown origin. Hostile formation. ETA, 6 hours. Reelan's face turned pale. "They're not done." Jace stood, already knowing. "It's not about Ghost anymore," she said. "They want you." "I know." He walked toward the edge of the tower ruins. The rising sun lit the horizon in red and gold. The cold air burned his lungs. He didn't flinch. "They'll come heavy," Reelan said. "Gunships. Orbital strikes." Then we meet them heavy. You have a plan? Jace turned to her. We stand our ground. With what? 2 beasts? Jace looked at the Varanox, then at Ghost. Not beasts, he said. Brothers. Rielan stared at him for a long moment. If we fight, we might not survive. We already weren't supposed to. She gave a slow nod. Then I'll stand with you. As the warning sirens echoed in the valley, soldiers gathered. They built barricades, repaired weapons. The fear in their eyes was real, but so was the resolve. Jace stood on the wall, one hand resting on Ghost's armored head. We're not just defending a bridge, he said quietly. We're defending a truth they want to bury. Rielan joined him. What truth? That sometimes monsters aren't born, he said. They're made, and they can be unmade. The wind carried the scent of war again. Heavy, inevitable. Jace reached for the Varanox's bridle, but the creature pushed its head forward instead, letting him hold its horn. Ghost stood tall beside them, his massive body casting a long shadow over the camp. Across the sky, faint shapes appeared, distant black dots growing larger every second. The fleet was coming, and this time, no one was going to run. Not the human, not the commander, not the predators. The enemy fleet appeared like dark clouds cutting across the rising sun. Massive dropships hovered above the canyon, their engines growling. Smaller attack crafts zipped between them like wasps. From the main carrier, a sharp voice echoed across a wideband channel, loud and cold. This is Strike Command. Surrender the human and the rogue beasts. No second warning will be given. Rielan narrowed her eyes. Same private military? Jace nodded. No, this is worse. This is the real cleanup crew. She looked at him. They'll kill everyone to erase what happened here. Then we make sure everyone sees it. Below, soldiers finished their barricades. Turrets turned toward the sky. The Varanox paced, sensing the tension. Ghost stood at the cliff edge, growling low, his body fully recovered now. Jace stood between them, holding a transmitter. Is that a detonator? Rielan asked. It's a signal beacon, he said. Broadcasting everything to every channel I can reach. Civilian, military, black market. I want the whole galaxy to see who's hunting us. Won't that make us bigger targets? Jace smiled faintly. No, it'll make them visible. And the ones who live in the shadows hate that. The enemy fleet began to descend. Lines of drop troopers streamed from the sky. They weren't coming to talk. They were coming to erase. Jace climbed onto the Varanox. Rielan jumped onto a gunner platform. Ghost let out a thunderous roar. Then they charged. The battle that followed would be remembered across systems, not because of its size, but because of what it proved. 1 human, 2 beasts, and a force of will that refused to break. The Varanox leapt from rock to rock, tearing through enemy formations. Ghost slammed into armored vehicles, tossing them like toys. Rielan's soldiers, inspired by what they saw, didn't retreat. They advanced. For every shot fired, the story spread further. Every strike from Jace's team was caught on camera, relayed across pirate channels and official networks alike. The truth was being burned into history, one blast at a time. And then came the moment. The command carrier moved into position, charging its orbital weapon. Rielan's systems flashed red. They're targeting the ridge. Too late, Jace whispered. Ghost sprinted across the upper cliff. With a final roar, he launched himself onto the carrier. The impact threw the ship off balance. He tore into its engine core. A blast of fire exploded through the sky. The enemy fleet panicked. Without the main ship's guidance, formations broke. Retreat signals flashed. One by one, the crafts pulled away, leaving smoke trails behind them. Ghost fell with the wreckage. Down, into the canyon below. Ghost! Jace shouted. Silence. The wind blew through the broken cliffs. Rielan rushed to the edge. Smoke curled upward from the crash site. But then, a shape moved in the dust. Ghost emerged, limping, wounded, but alive. Jace slid down the slope, running to him. He dropped to his knees and wrapped his arms around the beast's neck. "You did it," he whispered. Ghost lowered his head against him, breathing hard but calm. The battle was over. The story had been seen. In the days that followed, messages poured in, from colonies, commanders, even old enemies. The footage had reached everywhere. Some offered help, others asked questions, but no one could deny it now. Humans weren't just survivors. They were something more. Reelan stood with Jace as repair. Crews arrived. The Varanox lay nearby, eyes closed in peace. Ghost slept under a solar canopy, finally safe. "What now?" she asked. Jace looked at the horizon. "Now we build something better." Together? He looked at her, then at the two creatures beside them. Yes, together. And so the tale of the human and the untamable beasts became legend, not of war, but of what happens when one soul dares to ride what others only fear. The alien had gasped that day, but the galaxy would never forget.